All right, guys, back on Southeastern 16 with Max Barr with our SEC basketball previews. The Auburn Tigers host the Missouri Tigers on Saturday to start conference play. Of course, we'll be previewing every game, which you want to check out. I'm sure if you're an SEC basketball fan, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the videos we have up previewing all of these games. But Max, the Auburn Tigers, certainly a noteworthy start, to say the least, possibly even an unprecedented start in several areas. For sure, for that version of the Tigers, they have been fantastic at this point. 6 quad 1 wins, just so many numbers that I'm sure we'll get into as we go through this preview here. But meanwhile, Missouri on the right track after, we know, a not-so-fine SEC slate last year, off to an 11-2 start this season. They have a big win over Kansas, which is still meaningful, by the way. I know Kansas lost some games, but don't let anybody kid you. That was still a big win for Missouri. And here they are coming in with some momentum as well. And so the two Tigers battle on the plains on Saturday.
Blake, we need like that classic Warner Brothers movie intro. First SEC picks of the season. Bum, ba-da, bum, 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 bum,
just have two Tigers come, like one comes out from this side, one comes out from this side, and they just meet in the middle. And you're just waiting to see which one's just going to pounce. I think they're both going to pounce, is what I think.
SEC play has arrived. What has not arrived is a betting line as we record this. And I do my best to try to take the averages.
Just as a note, let me just quickly tell people. Yeah. We are recording these a little bit earlier than we usually will each week, just due to schedules. So we're recording these on Wednesday. So we're just letting you know up front. And also, before Max continues, Garth Glitzman let us know too on Twitter as we've retweeted and all that. But remember too, we will get official injury reports for teams, but that's not going to happen until Friday. So we will try to hold off some weeks to record until Friday, but this week we just had to do it early. So continue on, Max.
Yes. Shout out to the SEC office for putting that together. That is an absolute game changer. Never saw that coming. So take whatever you want from the analytics sites. This is going to be somewhere between 15 and 20 point spread here, Blake. I've seen some analytics sites have it out at 19, 20. I personally made it 16 and a half. I think that is just crazy wide, but whatever way you want to slice it, Blake, this is going to be probably a 15 point plus spread.
Yeah. And I can remember Missouri's 11-2. I think that can speak to a couple things. And I think that is, number one, as we said, you look at the numbers for Auburn, what they have accomplished at this point, and why they are such a strong favorite in this game, and why they'll be a strong favorite against a lot of teams in this scenario. Again, 6 quad 1 wins. They've already beaten multiple top 25 teams, multiple top 5 teams. Their only loss this season against Duke on the road, as we know. Still unbeaten at home. Still unbeaten in neutral court games. Their scoring margin plus 23.5. That's top 5 in the nation. And they've done it against the top 10 strength of schedule, as you continue to point out. So that's why Auburn, when you look at them kind of heading into this, and they are a team too, Max, that when you look at the numbers, best in the country offensively, historically good offensively right now, around the top 10 defensively too, looking at it from that standpoint. And remember, they played a top 10 strength of schedule. They're doing this against good teams. And meanwhile, on the flip side of that, I think if you're going to see some people push back a little bit on Missouri to this point, it's going to be on the strength of schedule, because it is much different than Auburn's is when you look at it overall, because Missouri's strength of schedule right now is around that 355-ish, 360th type mark when you look at the metrics. So I think that's why you're going to see that number be that high probably. But it's an interesting challenge for Missouri because, we are talking about a team that they've only played one true road game this season. That was to start the year, right? It looked great against Memphis for a decent portion of that game. Memphis winds up coming back, winning that one by 8. Of course, that was game 1 of the season. We've seen them progress from here. We've seen breakout guys like Anthony Robinson, your usual suspects that are coming in. We knew Mark Mitchell was going to be really good. We knew Tamar Bates was going to have a good season. Caleb Grill's back now. And so, I think Missouri's got the depth to at least make this interesting. There's another area I'm going to point out too in a second. But if you're trying to find a way to beat Auburn right now, you got to jumble a lot of things together to try to do that against all those accolades that I mentioned so far for that version of the Tigers.
Anytime like this year, we're breaking down a game that's being played at Auburn, just already off the bat, you're in for you gotta play some of your best basketball for the entire 40 minutes because of not only how good the Auburn offense is, but if you go through a drought of any sort on the road at Auburn this year, it just you talk about those Evan Mia kill shots, multiple stops in a row, and Auburn goes on a run. It could be an absolute recipe for disaster. But what could stop that is getting to the free throw line, calming the game down, making it choppy. That's what Missouri does better than anyone in the nation. There's only one team in the country, Winthrop, that gets to the free throw line more than Missouri. Missouri lives there, absolutely lives there. And I'm not going to lie, Auburn does, they do play a little bit physical. They will put you on the line a little bit. But what they also do is they don't give you anything easy inside. So while Missouri might be able to get to the free throw line a little bit, when they're not getting fouled, it's not like anything easy is going to be coming down low, Blake, which they really rely on with those low post guys like Mitchell. Perkins likes it down low, stuff like that. Bates in his mid range. So you can kind of take whatever side you want of that, Blake. You can either say, hey, Auburn does put people on the line a little bit, and this Missouri team does that better than anyone. But you can also say, well, yeah, they might get to the line a little bit, but everything else is just going to be contested. Nothing's going to be easy.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're another thing, if you're looking for a path to victory for Missouri, they got to get to the free throw line. Again, that's where I think a longer game here, physical, lots of free throws could help. But they've also got to force turnovers, and we talked about that.
Yep.
That was their magic formula a couple years ago when they had the success in Dennis Gates' first season. This season, they're 25th nationally, forcing 16 turnovers per game. The issue with that is that Auburn is second in the country and turning it over only 8 times per game. So that is going to be a problem if you're trying to force turnovers, get easy offense. Because, like we said, if you're going to find a way to beat Auburn right now, you've got to get some easy baskets. And
Yes.
a lot of those probably. And so I think that's going to be the big thing is can they force turnovers? Because if they can't, if Auburn's just taking care of the ball, let's say they come out of this game with around the same. Let's say they only turn over 8 times or something like that. I don't like that at all for Missouri. I think it's going to be a big problem if that's the number. But speaking of numbers, Max, before we get into everything else, if you want to look at the numbers on this game and make a bet, let's say you want to bet on the game. What a concept
Ooh.
in 2025, almost said 2024. Bet Online continues to be the world's most trusted betting platform, your number one source for online betting. Earliest odds, in-game live betting. Bet Online provides you with all the action, the ability to watch the games as they happen. Largest selection of odds on everything from football, the NBA, college basketball, NHL, UFC. It's all there. Head to Bet Online today. Don't forget to use that promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, for your welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online, the game starts here. All right, Max, what else are we seeing on this one? I think this is the kind of game, too, that you need your stars to sort of take center stage here, and that's where I think seeing an Anthony Robinson in this sort of scenario, this is a big Mark Mitchell game, I think, given what we know we're seeing on the front court for Auburn. So I think those two guys in particular, I mean, everyone's got to have a good game for Missouri, I think, in this one. But those two guys got to step up big, knowing that you've got Broom and company on the other side there.
Yeah, I'm looking at the 5 spot and kind of the depth of the 5 spot for Missouri because obviously, no question, you're gonna have your hands full with whoever it is, whether it's Chaney, it's Cardwell, or it's Broom. And I like the 1 through 4 for Missouri. I don't love the 5. How many minutes are we going to get out of Josh Gray, and are those productive minutes? And if you don't, if he fouls, gets in foul trouble, or he's just not holding his own, it's not his game. Where do you turn to in this game? Do you try Mark Mitchell on him? Do you go to Trent Pierce? We don't really see much of Peyton Marshall in these bigger types of games, but do you try out a big body Peyton Marshall on him, even though Broom would probably have his way? Very interesting to see there. Like, Josh Gray's obviously going to start this game out. How does he do in those first 10 minutes, first half? Is Broom at 20 and 15 at halftime, or is Mark Mitchell getting to the foul line? Maybe Broom has 2 fouls early. Who knows? Something like that. I'm really going to be watching that kind of front court for Missouri and how that depth plays out first 10, 20 minutes.
It's kind of weird to say, but like you probably need Josh Gray to foul out in this game. You just don't need all
Right?
those fouls to come, at once, right? It's like it is kind of weird though, but to say that, but it's true. Like you probably need him to get his full 5 in this one. Just knowing again what he's going to be matched up against with
Right.
Broom and Cardwell when he comes in and those kind of things. So like rather than give up some easy baskets, like it's going to be physical in there, and so you're probably going to get your 5 fouls out of him. But as you mentioned, there's got to be some other guys that are going to have to step up as well, because I think that's what we've seen with Auburn, right? It's just that, yes, all the attention has been on Broom, but there are so many different guys that can beat you. Now, you can say the same about Missouri. There are different guys who have stepped up, with Caleb Grove's absence and different guys here or there that can make shots. We've seen that, but this is just a different beast, as we said, going up against this Auburn team. So, Max, let's make our picks for this one. Again, we could dissect a lot of things, but I mean, the fact is, I have a pretty good guess where we're both going to go on this one. But it's trying to find that recipe for Missouri, and I guess if you want to just kind of try to tie some things together of their 3 toughest opponents, right? They played Memphis, Kansas, and Illinois. There are some similarities, I think, just in terms of maybe style a little bit with an Illinois. It's going to be a game where, getting up and down the floor a little bit. We know that with Auburn. But outside of that, I mean, there's just maybe there are things that Missouri has learned from those 2 games that they lost that they can use going into this one. But, man, it's just like we can compare Auburn to any other team right now, but the numbers tell us that there is no comparison just based on how good they've been, so it's hard.
Yeah, and basically when you look at Missouri, the only 2 losses are their only 2 games away from home. So you can lean on that here. That's an angle also. But Blake, Missouri doesn't assist a lot. They're in the bottom 100 in the nation in assist rate. They do, as we've said a million times, they do their damage at the free throw line. That's what they like to do. And Auburn is a defense that is built not to turn you over, but to force you into the toughest shot possible. And with a kind of an ISO type of contact-seeking offense like Missouri, they're going to need to make a lot of tough floaters. They're going to need to get a lot of calls in the lane, and I just don't think you do that on the road. So I'll take Auburn here pretty comfortably, but no real play on a spread if it's way up there, 16, 17, 18, who knows, that can go either way.
Yeah. But before I make my pick, I know you have the submitted picks of one Chris Lee,
Oh,
Max.
yes.
So I like to make sure we get his pick. I like to go last in our choices here. So
Yes, Chris is taking Auburn.
yeah, so. All right. So what you're saying is our first opportunity of the conference season to go with a Southeastern 16 kiss of death. Wouldn't it be something if we put it on Auburn, the team that has been one of the most dominant teams in decades? If we were to put this on them, don't blame us, because this would be a huge monster upset based on the spread. And also, Max, if you look at the recent history, I think that's something that's interesting between these 2 teams. Because if you go back 2 years ago, Auburn beat Missouri 89-56 at home in a game from February. It was on Valentine's Day. Remember, Missouri was pretty good that season. Last year, the games these 2 teams played against each other, I think they still only played once last year as well. Auburn won that game in Columbia by 27. So, 2 different Missouri teams we know, and I think this one, feels certainly a little bit more on track with that team from a couple of years ago. But still, as good as this Auburn team has been, I can't pick against them, even to try to deny the Southeastern 16 kiss of death. But Missouri fans are jumping up and down right now. They're thinking they may be the ones. They're going to pull this off with the historic Southeastern 16 kiss of death, perhaps going and play in Game 1 in our picks here. But yeah, also going to pick the Auburn Tigers in this one, but should be an interesting start for SEC play for both of these teams. And, of course, we'll have you covered here at Southeastern 16. Again, we'll have videos, single games like this one, Florida, Kentucky, Tennessee, Arkansas. You'll see in separate videos as well. And then you'll see Alabama, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Texas games. The rest of the games will all be in one video. So you can find them on the channel. Hit the subscribe button. We cover SEC basketball every day here on the channel. So we appreciate you watching as always. And live reaction Saturday after the games. So be sure to check that out. And again, thanks for watching as always. We'll talk to you soon at Southeastern 16.